Ready.
Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Myths and Truths about the college admissions process. I'm Angela Price, and I'm actually Los Altos College advisor, and I'm located in the CCC every day, working with students, helping them through the college process. So tonight we're going to be talking about some of the things that I believe and counselors believe that really cause students a lot of stress. It's not the truth of the process. It's the myths all around it and the anxiety that comes with not knowing the real facts about the college process. So we're going to talk about five big busters tonight, misconceptions for students and families. Okay, Jen, the next slide.
Okay.
So today we're busting five myths. The first one is colleges only accept students with perfect GPAs. The second one is you must declare a major before applying to college. The third, recommendation letters require an A grade from the teacher. Um, Four, dual enrollment speeds up your graduation process and prepare you for college. Number five, breaking an early decision agreement and the consequences that can follow that. So slide number one. So colleges only accept applications with perfect GPAs. Admissions is holistic. The GPA is just one of the aspects of the college admissions process. Um, Colleges look at course rigor, which means the advanced classes or honors classes that your student enrolls in. And it doesn't have to be, five AP classes or five honors classes. Students should enroll in the class that they can be successful in. But colleges do look at the rigor in terms of their academics that they choose to enroll in. Recommendations: teachers and counselors matter in the college admissions process. They give the college admissions people a window into the student beyond grades, beyond just a letter grade on the transcript, but actually talk about the student's character and potential as a college student. Community service: colleges love it when students give back. They love it when they're aware of what's happening in the community at their school or in the larger community beyond the school and have some sense of purpose and value through giving back to their community. Essays are very important. It's the only spot in the application where the student voice stands out. The student is talked about, by the recommender. They're looked at through what they've done, but the essays allows the college to see what they say about themselves, and it can set the student apart from other applicants. Extracurriculars is just the depth of students' involvement. What students have chosen to put their time into when they're not in class, the things that they show that they care about. And of course, colleges look at each student within the context of who they are, who they've shown themselves to be, and what their counselors say they are, and their teachers. So within individual context, so a student can shape who they are by the things that they say and the things that they've done. And the holistic admission process allows the colleges to value the whole student. They all are very important. Every one of these aspects of the application supports the student's admission or rejection. Next one. The next big myth that comes up all the time, and my students tell me this every day: you must decide your major before you submit a college application. That is absolutely not true. And the next slide, I'll go through some points about that. What you need to know is dozens of majors exist at colleges, sometimes over 60 majors that students can choose from. Many students apply undecided and change their majors after starting college. And that's okay. Colleges do not care. They are not concerned so much as what students says they want to do as to when they come to the campuses and discover what they can do. So it's really important that students understand that it's okay to click that button, undecided, undeclared. No problem. It's not going to hurt their college admissions. Academic aspiration in your first year is completely normal. When I did college admission, students would change their major at least 5 to 6 times, and sometimes more than that before their junior year. For example, the UPenn engineering students have until the end of freshman year to actually declare that they want to be engineering. Colleges want you to know, more about who you are as a learner and about the major or the area you intend to go into. And you can't do that from a high school desk, having not taken one college class, spoken to one college professor, been in the college community. So they want you to explore. They want you to come and figure out who you are beyond their campuses. In California, it's a little different with the UCs and CSUs. Application requirements sometimes will ask our students to choose a major or area of study. But that's a public school as opposed to private, when you're on the Common App and applying to private colleges, which will look at the holistic review. Um, the UCs must have you in their system having decided on a major, but even in the UCs, there is undeclared. And on some California State University applications, there's also an undeclared space. So our students have many choices to decide, not to box themselves into a major before applying. And, examples like engineering, there could be, mechanical engineering or just engineering, or chemistry or undecided science. So there are many options within the college process and on the application that allow students to not box themselves in, to not be committed to one pathway, but to leave themselves open, to exploring. So students do not have to declare their major. That is such a myth. And we do want students to check in with me or Mr. Rand in the College Center. If there's a school that's requiring that they pick a particular area of interest, then we will let the student know that. But the other thing that students have at our colleges is that at our high schools at Mountain View and at Los Altos is that colleges come to our center every year. And if you ask the college admissions director, do I have to declare my major? 9 times out of 10, they will say no. So these are things that kids can find out, and it's totally okay being undecided. So we're on number 3 myth, I think. Letters of recommendations can only come from teachers who give you an A. Students will look at their high school record, and that's how they decide who will write their recommendations. I would say that would be the wrong choice to make unless that person, the teacher gave you an A, actually knows who you are beyond the classroom, have had a conversation with you about the things that you care about. Have seen you in the classroom working with other students in the community doing things like theater or, doing community service on campus. You need a teacher recommendation that can speak positive about you beyond the academics. So recommendations can come from teachers who give you an A, but they also can come from a teacher who gives you a B or a C if that teacher knows you. And their importance in the process is just as positive as a teacher who would have given you an A grade if that teacher can speak to who you are beyond those grades. And it shows your potential. Colleges look at what teachers say about you as a potential student in their classroom, a potential student in the college campus, a potential student in that area of study. If you're asking a science teacher to write about you, they can talk about your curiosity level. They can talk about the research that you've done. So the recommendation serves a larger purpose than just sort of grade stamping the A that you received in the classroom. So students should really build relationships with their teachers, visit after hours, talk to them about who they are. I know that there's a lot of opportunities after school and during school for students to connect with their teachers, and they should do that because all the time getting an A in the class does not mean that you are the type of student that would survive on a college campus beyond that classroom. So you really do need to make sure that your teacher knows who you are. And you're going to take at least 6 or 7 classes per semester. All of those teachers are very relevant in who you are as a student on the campus. So definitely beyond, you don't have to have a A in the class to receive a positive recommendation. So that's one big myth that students really do believe they have to do. And that's something that Mr. Rand and myself and the counselors at this school work really hard to let them know that's not true. So.
Ms. Price, with letters of recommendation, it's Jenny, but with with letters of recommendation, how would you recommend, what would you recommend students, how would you recommend students figure out who they should ask? Because I know sometimes certain majors require certain letters and really selective schools may require certain letters.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
the first school
teachers.
that comes to mind is MIT. I mean, they state very clearly they want their students to have a science, teacher recommender and a, humanities. And you can't have, if you can't have two humanities and two science, they want you to have one and the other. So because, students very rarely in our high schools don't know their teachers, I would say that they should talk to the teacher and find out, would they mind writing a recommendation for them? And teachers are very honest. Teachers will tell you if they feel they know you well enough to write a recommendation. That's the single most important thing that students can take away from a meeting with the teacher about a recommendation. And that doesn't mean the teacher doesn't like them. They just feel they cannot, speak to the whole student in a recommendation letter. And that's one thing that students can do. And they should ask these teachers way before the end of junior year. As you go into spring semester, you've been with that teacher all, for the fall semester. Talk to your teacher about writing a letter of recommendation. Students should always ask early in the spring semester so that they have some idea. And they need to ask two or three teachers and then talk to Mr. Rand and myself or their academic advisors at Mountain View and find out which teacher could best represent them. We have a lot of information that when we work with kids about when they come in and meet us, and they can tell us, I felt comfortable with that teacher. I didn't feel comfortable. You don't want a teacher writing a recommendation for you and you don't know anything about that teacher, how that teacher feels about you. So students should have a conversation with their teachers. I think that's the single most important thing, Ms. Dumas. They will have to talk to their teachers. And we ask kids to start doing that in their, sophomore and freshman year so they're comfortable in talking to teachers by junior year.
And then how many letters typically do colleges ask for?
It's usually two. The minimum is one, but it's usually two recommenders for selective schools, and minimum one for schools that usually admit students in the bottom 50% of the class. So they're admitting like 50 or 60% of their student population. One recommendation is usually okay for those colleges. If you're applying to colleges that are admitting in the single digits, 4%, 9%, 5%, then you most definitely will be submitting two recommenders. Except Emory University is an exception. They will take one recommender. But every student will know that because in the Common App or the whichever application they're using to apply to, they will tell you that. And we're very lucky. The UCs will not accept recommenders at all. They do not require recommenders for our state colleges, Cal States, or University of California. It will only be private schools and sometimes public schools outside of California that require recommendation. But they will tell you that up front, right in the application, one or two, but generally two for the most selective schools in the country.
Great.
Okay. So, okay, taking AP exams or dual enrollment means you'll finish college faster. Not so fast. Depends on the college. Colleges are not in the habit of graduating students with AP credit or from community colleges. They want you to graduate from their college with their classes and their education. So you need to be careful about loading up, on classes that you think you're going to waive out of 30 or 40 units at a college, because that's not going to happen generally. I think that in California, we're lucky again. Most California, the CSUs and the UCs will take up to 30 AP credits towards their degree for the UCs or CSUs. But that's going to mainly go with your lower division classes and general education, and the score will determine that. It isn't just a class that you take. It would be an AP exam that will give you credit at the UCs or CSUs. And it's really obvious on the UC and CSU website. They tell you which AP exams that will fulfill, they'll give you credit for a particular general education at their campuses. But in generally colleges, AP and dual enrollment classes challenge you academically. That's great for the student. We have some kids taking math, especially our a math that they take beyond BC Calc, multivariate calculus. They take that. It's a community college class. And so they're moving along within the math because that math is now offered at our campus. It demonstrates your readiness for college admissions, and they can be a strong positive addition to your application. However, you need to make sure that credits will be transferable if that's what you're looking to get from taking classes outside of high school or taking AP exams. Some majors, especially STEMs and nursing, have a sequence at colleges. They cannot allow you to bring in a certain class because it will break the sequence of their class that they're offering for the background that you need to have for their majors. And applying many credits don't count towards graduation. Sometimes you're limited. You can bring in, 30 units at a UC or CSU, but private schools are not going to allow you to bring in 30 units of credit towards their degree. And those are things you can find out, when your students are looking and researching the colleges. You can see how much credit each college will give you for an AP or for a community college class that you've taken in California. Talk with your college advisor, that's me, before accumulating a lot of dual enrollment credits. So you'll know exactly, how much will apply to your degree if you know which colleges you're applying to. So it's important to have a conversation about that. We don't want you not to challenge yourself. If you want to take your kids want to take a summer school class, kids should take summer school classes. It's just to take it because you want to, take it because you're interested in learning. Don't take it because you think it's going to get you out of a year of college, okay? That is the wrong way to look at taking dual enrollment credits or AP exams.
Ms. Price, can you clarify the difference between a dual enrollment course and an AP exam? Like if I take a community college class,
Yeah.
do I have to take an AP exam to get the college credit in the dual enrollment class?
Absolutely not. A college class is a college class. You will get college credit from taking that class. If you take an AP class, you will only get college credit from passing the exam with a 3 or 4 or 5 for the UCs. But in some selected colleges, you will not get credit, even elected credit, without having a 4 or above in AP classes. So college classes are exactly that. It will go to the college as a college class. They will know that you got, you took community college classes. And like I said, the UCs accept 60 college credits from our community colleges. So you know how much they value community colleges. It's just that private schools will not be awarding you that type of credit from community college. But the University of California, system-wide, and Cal State, most definitely college classes are looked at as having taken a college class, and you would get college credit. And you will be able to see the transfer of the transfer credit from the community college at the UC or CSU. It will tell you exactly what you're going to get, and it will meet the requirements for lower division general education if you take a college class. AP, it depends on the score and depends on the college and what they are willing to give you for that score.
And you can look at assist.org to see
Yep,
how our dual enrollment community college classes transfer to the UCs and CSUs.
yep,
That's a helpful tool that we often recommend to students.
yep,
Just remember that if you do take a dual enrollment class, it does count towards your college GPA. That is the start of your college record. And I
yep,
think sometimes students don't realize that. And so they think, oh, this is just a throwaway class, but it's
yep,
actually the start of your college record and will transfer to your colleges, especially the UCs and CSUs.
right. Because they'll ask you that you take a college class on the UC and the CSU application, and there's a space for you to indicate that.
Great. Okay.
Yep, so so this is number 5. We're at number 5,
Yes.
Mythbuster. Yeah, so we're
Mhm.
at the end of it almost. Breaking an early decision agreement can have real consequences. We tell students all the time, early decision is not where you go when you're scared that you're not going to get into college. Early decision is where you should go when you know it's the only college in the world that you absolutely want, and you don't want any other college. And I always ask kids that if you get into Harvard, early decision, and Yale admits you also early decision, will you still say I want Harvard? That's the key. It has to be the school that you want the most and that you don't want any other college but that college for early decision. It truly is not a place where you go when you're afraid that you're not going to get admitted to college. I just want to say that in California, in the United States of America, we have thousands and thousands of colleges across this country. There's no reason for a student who want to go to college cannot get into a college in the United States. We have thousands of them. So it is no reason to go into early decision unless you truly want that college, and it's the only college for you. And it can't just be, I tease our kids all the time, it can't just be the 8 Ivies in this country. If you add up all the 8 Ivies in this country, they don't even educate a quarter of the students graduating out of college with degrees every year. They have so few students on their campuses. The most of our students who get educated in this country are from all the other thousands of colleges in the United States. So just something to keep in mind. Early decision is not where you go when you're afraid. And students look at the early decision stats, and I can tell you the stats are skewed. And Ms. Dumas will speak to this. Ms. Dumas will speak to this as well. If you're looking at early decisions at schools like the 8 Ivies, you need to keep in mind that first of all, they admit athletes early decision. Athletes going to those schools cannot apply regular or early action. They have to go early decision. So every Ivy school in the country has athletic teams, and those athletes apply early decision. So when it looks like just regular old kids are getting into early decision, that's not true at some of the most selective schools in the country. Because also that's where your artists are going to be. That's where your dancers are going to be. All the creative students who have to apply to NYU, in their special programs are going to be applying early because they're not going to be able to get into those programs at a regular decision time. Those slots will be filled. They want to bank in those kids in early, the kids that contribute to their campuses. So early decision is not wide open. It's not, they're admitting 40% early decision, regular old kids, they're not doing that. So kids need to look at early decision as a place where they know, it's the only school I want to go to, and not because I'm afraid I'm not going to get into college, or looking at the ranking and stats, thinking that, they're admitting 30%, so I can get in there, and regular decision is 8%. It just depends on who they're admitting early in those 30 percentile. Am I right, Ms. Dumas?
Yes, and also just to clarify the difference between early action and early decision
Mm-hmm.
is that your early decision agreement is the binding commitment. So you're saying if I know my ability to handle this school financially, I know that if I get in, I'm going there. And if you apply early decision, you have to withdraw all of your other applications at that time. So that means you pull out from the UCs, you pull out from your other schools that you're applying to, so that you are showing that that is your number one choice, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a place you go to think that, you'll think about it later. And you can't, compare packages. The general thought for students and families who need to have financial aid, early decision is not a place where you should be applying because the decision is based, totally not with financial decision, whether you can afford it or not. They assume that if you're applying early decision, it's binding. You can afford to go to pay the price tag, whatever it's going to be at their institution. So if you're concerned at all about financial aid, just wait the long game. You'll be able to compare packages and make a decision later on. But early decision commitment, well, it's on the student's honor and the parent's honor. You sign a written agreement in the common application. The student signed, the parents sign, and the counselor has to sign to say we understand the ramifications of early decision. So it's not just the students that's bound by that decision. The parents are bound, and so is the school to some degree. So you want to make sure if you do early decision that it is where you want to be. Early action is a fine place to be. You get to know earlier beforehand. It's not binding. Stanford admits kids early action, and you don't have to go to Stanford. You keep Stanford in your pocket in December and still have all of your options open if UC Berkeley admits you in the spring. So I think that early action is a great place for you to be, especially if you're also considering that you might need financial aid, because you'll be able to compare packages in early action where you will not be able to do that in early decision. You cannot apply to multiple schools in early decision, but you can apply to multiple early action schools. We don't want students applying to 30 and 40. That makes no sense. Early action to some degree still should be schools that you research and that you really want to go to. You shouldn't be applying just because it's easy and you don't have to write an essay to be on the application, right? Early action should be thoughtful because at the end of the day, you want to look at all your colleges and realize that you should be able to go to any of the colleges on your list. Early action, that you put on that list, and you should be able to go to any of those schools because they're schools you apply to, schools you care for and want to be a part of. So you can have lots of choice to early action and no choice to early decision, except the first choice, deciding that that's the one you want to go to. You should know sometimes that students don't recognize this, but early decision colleges are very small. It's a very small elite bunch of colleges, and they do talk to each other. When I did college admissions, I wasn't at some of the colleges. I was at Connecticut College, but there were times when I knew who applied early decision to Bowdoin or Bates or other schools in the next cat because college admissions people do talk to each other. And they do share data sometimes. So if you're doing early decision, you need to know that may not be the only person that knows that you applied to an early decision school and decided not to go. And then you're going to add some more schools on your list and apply to those schools. They might know that you applied early decision to a school and will be reneging on that early decision. So you don't want that to, to be a shadow over your application because it can cause you to be rescinded from the school that you got early decision, and schools will not admit you if they know that you did that. So it's not, something that is written in stone, but it can happen, and students can miss an opportunity to attend the college they want to go to. So early decision should definitely be something that parents are a part of, not just students. Parents should be a part of that decision as well, making sure that kids understand the ramifications. Um,
So, Miss Price, can you tell us the benefits to applying to for like under early action versus
Early decision.
yeah.
Yeah, well, early action is not binding. You have choices, always have choices, You can apply to multiple colleges and no one's going to stop you to applying to 30 early actions. We don't want you to. It's too much work and too much stress, but you can apply. And you'll get your decision at the same time as early decisions come out. So that means you will know before the December break if you're gotten to your early action school. And you can have something in your pocket if you have applied to early action school that you really want to go to. You still have time to negotiate your financial aid as well in early action. So those are the benefits, choices, financial aid, opportunities, and having multiple colleges that you hopefully would want to attend. And as with early decision, once you make that decision and it goes in, you are done. You're going to withdraw your applications from every other college you apply to, and that is the school that you'll be attending in the fall. And in terms of negotiating the finances, it might be a possibility, but it's not going to be negotiating out of the decision. So I think that if financial aid is something that you're concerned about, you really should not be applying early decision because it is binding. Yeah, lots of options in early action. That's the way to go if you want to keep your options open.
What's the benefits between applying early action versus regular decision, for example?
Well, I mean, it's just knowing earlier, honestly. It's not like some students think that, early action, I'll get in and get my financial aid and there'll be none for regular. That's not true. There will be money for every family in regular decision as well as early action. But the benefit is truly just, for you to be confident that I'm in a school I would like to go to early action. And I can negotiate the financial aid. I can do more research and see which ones of my early action schools I want to go to. And I don't have to withdraw any applications. You can keep all of your applications out there for regular decision while you are getting admitted to early action. So it is not limiting at all. Every option is open to you with early action.
And Ms. Price, do some schools that are giving merit aid, which means money for your academic merit, do they sometimes have an early action deadline?
They do because it's scholarship based. Like USC is one of our biggest schools that gives over 500 merit scholarships to students, and USC was only early action last year, but this coming year they're going to have some other options too, but they still have early action. Yeah, merit money is something that kids compete for in early action. Absolutely. And you want to get it in early, but regular decision kids would be considered for, you know, scholarship as well as need-based aid too. But merit aid is usually connected to early action applications.
And then the last follow-up question I wanted to ask about the early action, or the last thing, just to say, I guess, to add on, is that, this process can be stressful for students. And so sometimes hearing early that they've gotten in somewhere takes the edge off in throughout the process. So if your student has a strong application. They have thoughtfully thought about their supplements. Their application is ready to go. Their personal statement is polished, and they're ready for early action. It can be a really beneficial thing because they do, in fact, hear earlier than regular decision. Early action decisions, like Ms. Price said, come in December or January, whereas regular decision schools typically release their decisions in March and beginning of April. And
Great.
so it's a long wait to hear back from schools. So having that one or two early action schools under your belt really helps kind of mitigate some of the stress that students feel.
Especially if students want to attend that school. I still don't want kids applying early action just because,
Yeah.
they.
Then, Ms. Price, I have a question in the chat about restrictive early action, our
Oh,
Stanfords and Yales of the world.
yes.
Um, can you just speak to what restrictive early action means?
It means that, the very selected schools in the country is not going to be okay with you being admitted to both. Stanford's not okay with you being admitted to MIT. They've come to an agreement among the most selected schools in the country that, MIT is restrictive action in terms of, early action with other colleges, except for public college. I believe that there are a few public colleges, and USC is an exception to the rule as well. But so we have to look at each school, but restrictive means that no, you can't load up Stanford, MIT, and and Yale all in the same line, apply early action. They have come to an agreement among themselves that they're not going to allow that. So you cannot apply early action to schools when it's restrictive. You have to follow those rules and take one of those schools for early action.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is if you look on the college's website
Yep,
under the application information, it will explain restrictive early action and let you know what their parameters are.
right,
Most of the time for the restrictive early action schools, it's saying you can apply early action to other public universities like your Michigans or University
right.
of Virginias of the world, but we are only allowing you to apply to one private school within the restrictive early action as long as it's not a scholarship deadline. So there's like a lot of different ins and outs to
I
that. So
know.
you just really need to, if you're confused, have your student go in and talk to Miss Price so that you can decipher the list because you just
Right.
don't want to get dinged. Yeah. Any other questions?
While we're people are just sort of thinking about, it, I just want to also say that it's really important, for, parents, if they have questions, to come in or to, I mean, not to come in because students are here all day long, but you can email Mr. Rand and myself if you heard something crazy out there, that you're worried about. Usually it's not true. There's a lot of rumors going around. A few weeks ago, I had a student come in and tell me that Brown is discriminating against Los Altos High School. Well, I know the Brown admissions director personally. I called her up. I knew what she was going to say, but I didn't want her to say it to me. I asked her to put it in an email to me that Los Altos High School is not being discriminated against by Brown University. So I have that email in my email bank. So I can send that out to parents right away. If your students would like to apply to Brown, please do if you think it's a fit. Brown is not looking at Los Altos as a pariah. That when your student application hits the Browns campus, that they're going to to reject Los Altos High kids just on principle. They're going to review your application. They're going to see if you are a fit and a match for their campus, and they're going to make a decision based on your qualifications. So I don't want any parents or students to feel that, a school is discriminating against Los Altos High School. If anyone hears that, call me up. I have no problem in calling the dean of admissions and having a conversation. I do it all the time. So just remember, we're going to deal in truth and facts when it comes to admissions. It really makes the process easier for students and for parents.
Ms. Price, you have a question in the chat. If does the number of AP classes matter when applying?
Okay, here's the deal with AP classes. So it's not the number of AP classes that matter, it's your performance in those classes. I have students that have 6 AP classes and have a string of B's and a couple of C's, right? So that means they overextended themselves. They didn't have to do that. Colleges look at students challenging themselves with a percentile of the AP classes that are offered at their school. We offer 30 plus AP classes. So a student taking 3 or 4 AP classes in their junior year, that's a good place to be in terms of being competitive. It's not how many AP classes makes a student more competitive or not. It's the classes you choose and your performance in those classes. And don't forget, it's a holistic review. AP classes alone will not do it for you. So take AP classes. Your child should take the ones that they can do well in. Okay. Do not take a number because they think colleges want them to have a certain number. There are high schools in the country that have no AP classes and are admitted to all selected colleges. No AP classes. Their school decided they weren't going to do it, and colleges do not hold them accountable. Colleges can only say that you need to have a percentile of your AP classes or look at your classes in terms of rigor if your school offers AP classes. Our kids are expected to have AP classes because we offer AP classes. If we didn't offer them, nobody would care. And they would still get admitted to colleges based on the curriculum that we offer. I hope that makes sense, guys.
Yeah, no, and then I do have another question is the typical amount of financial aid that students can receive.
Mhm.
What is the typical amount of financial aid that students can receive?
So there are colleges that will meet your student need 100%, okay? That doesn't mean that you get to decide the need. You must apply to FAFSA. FAFSA is a tool that we use, that colleges use to determine what the estimated family contribution is. And so it's also used in public schools and private schools. And so the amount of financial aid is determined by some of those statistics that come out with FAFSA and with something called the CSS profile, which private schools use as well. So there's two areas that families' ability to pay is assessed by. FAFSA is one of them, and CSS profile is another. Some schools don't require both. Some schools do require both. And those two assessment tools tells the universities how much you're able to afford to pay for your child to go to college. Now, given that, colleges will have to look within the context of their own budgets and what they can afford. So even on the college websites, you'll see that a college will say, we will meet your students' need 100%. Some colleges will say, if you make up to $500,000, we're still going to meet your students' need and you won't need to have a student loan. Those are colleges that you can apply to and know that they're going to look at your family's income and will, give you the amount of financial aid you need to go to their college. Every college is different. I can only tell you that. And before you apply, we need to look at what the college is saying that they will do in terms of family need and financial aid. But just because you say you need it doesn't mean you're going to get it. It has to be demonstrated through taxes, through income, sometimes through a CSS profile looks at equity, looks at trust funds. So it depends on the college you're applying to. CSS will take in the family finances and the family assets differently from FAFSA. So if you have a question, you have a list that you want to discuss, and we can look at those colleges and find out how much they will be able to, give you towards your students' college expenses. But there are tools, and they will use those tools, and they will determine through those tools how much they will be able to offer you in financial aid.
Yeah, and we have probably time for this one last question. But I want to just say that if you have questions about any of this financial aid packages, negotiating with colleges about financial aid, letting them know what you can afford, what you can't afford, we do offer financial aid nights. And walk through, the FAFSA. The other thing is you can always come in and or send emails to Ms. Duran or Ms. Price, and they can connect you to our resources. And the one question in the chat here, Ms. Price, is can you offer insight into both UC and CSU admissions and stats beyond what's available online? I think that's probably best on an individual basis.
It is.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, 'cause I know what our kids do within the context of our school. That's the only information that I can offer that's beyond what's on the basic stats out there, on the college's website. Because they speak to the whole admissions process. I can look at what was happening with our kids last year and the year before and can give you a little bit of feedback on how our kids do in individual colleges.
great. And then, so do you just want to talk about the key takeaways to wrap this up?
So, admission is holistic. Your GPA is only one factor. Keep that in mind. Your student is just more than that grade, right? Exploration is definitely expected. College do not expect you to have decided what you want to do in life before you get to apply to your colleges. And your best recommenders are those who truly know you. Have your student have a conversation with their teachers. Find out who knows them, right? Verify how transfer credits apply before you accumulate them because you can take a whole bunch of units, but if it's not going anywhere, that might be a waste of your time. Early decision is binding. Only apply if you're 100% sure that it's a school you want to go to. And definitely have your students come into the CCC. I'm still seeing students on appointments. Your junior, I've been seeing juniors since the fall semester. I will continue to see juniors on a one-on-one basis, and parents are allowed to come. The students have to invite you, though. I can't invite you, but your student can invite you and bring you right along.
And just a plug for some of the services that are being offered throughout the rest of the school year for juniors. Please have your student check the ACT workshops
Yep.
in Minga. We advertise them in the College and Career Center bulletin. The ACT workshops are available in Minga. Miss Price and I are doing a personal statement workshop right now. It's a three-part series. We have one on letters of recommendation, April 17th. At the end of this school year, we'll be offering a college boot camp. And that's most likely going to be on June 12th. So if students want to get a head start or a jump start on their college applications before summer, or at least a checklist of things that they should be working on, they can come in June 12th for that college boot camp. Miss Price has Melanie Davis come down from UC Davis, or sorry, it's
David.
Melanie come from down from UC Davis and talk to students about how to craft their PIQs, their
Right.
personal insight questions, talk about the UC application and give direct feedback. And then we also offer summer college advising so that if students need help and support throughout the summer that we're here. So we try to meet every single student where they're at. Please, please, please have them utilize the resources. Our College and Career Center, this is a shameless plug, is amazing. Miss Price has so much knowledge. Mr. Rand, puts together so much programming and communication. So please feel free to take advantage of those services for your student.
Okay, I hope it's been helpful and looking forward to meeting your juniors in at the College Career Center. Lunchtime is a really great fun time. They can always come in this walk-in time where Mr. Rand and I are out in the hall, out in the general area and answering questions and talking to kids. So you guys have a great night and thank you for sitting in on our session tonight. Really appreciate it.
Okay, I'm signing off. Thanks, Miss
Night, everyone.
Price. Okay.